We are all part and parcel of the self same divine. Give it in that aspect. Welcome to the study of the Bhagavad Gita. We are studying the third chapter, Karma Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita. And we studied in great detail the concept of yajna. The concept of yajna is very simple yet very profound. Yajna is, in the Vedic times, of course, yajna was used as a means to please the gods so that we can get the nature to shower us with all the goodness, the heat, the sun, and the fire and the water and so on and so forth. But slowly and slowly, this concept of yajna, it developed into the worshipping of the different deities, devas, and later in the Advaita Vedanta came into effect. This yajna became internalized. That is, sacrifice your ego for the benefit of the greater ego, the chota ami, that means the chota aham, the small aham, is offered into the mahat aham, that means the universal ego, universal being. So when that happens, the benefit of the whole universe is enormous. So this concept of yajna, which we have studied in great detail, is further mentioned in the 14th to 14, 15, 16th verses. Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyadanna sambhavaha yajñāt bhavati parjanyo yajñah karma samudbhavaha. In the previous verse, Sri Krishna told us that when we take anything that is offered as into yajna, as a yajna, that means when we offer something to others and then enjoy the rest ourselves, it will release us from all sins. That is to say, your little self has been already offered to the universal self or the cosmic self, and then whatever the cosmic self gives you back, or whatever is remnant of that, that becomes your sustenance, and that is very sacred. So Sri Ramakrishna used to tell us sannyasins that the sacred offerings, the prasad, it purifies the body as well as the mind. Now prasad can be of two types. One is the physical prasad, the food that is offered, and the other prasad is the mental offerings that you do. I am offering my love, I am offering my heart, I am offering my kindness, compassion, everything unto the universal being. So that when we offer all of that to the universe or to the divine, in this case, whatever we are possessed or whatever we get as a result of such offering becomes a prasada, and it ennobles us. It purifies us and it ennobles us. And in this verse, Sri Krishna is talking about the Yajna Chakra, that means the wheel of Yajna, which runs the whole of the creation. How is it? Annat bhavanti bhutani, that is from food. creatures are born. Food is produced by rain, rain is born by sacrifice, and sacrifice originates from action. So he says here that food produces all beings. All beings are dependent on anna, definitely. The herbs, the fruits, grains, etc., they all come under the purview of anna here. So, so from anna, that means from gross food, rasa comes out. That is the essence. It is obtained from the gross food, rasa. Then that rasa goes to make the blood. It then goes to make the fat, bones, and other tissues, marrow, etc. And then in the seventh portion, according to the classification, the seventh portion of every food item or of all food goes to make the virya, that is the essence, the semen, and through which the multiplication of species occurs. So from food, that is from the reproductive power sustained by food, creatures are born, says Sri Krishna over here. And then again he says, Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhavaha. Again it is said that this fruit, etc., this food, the trees, the fruits, etc., they bring in the rain, parjanya. So anna becomes parjanya, anna becomes the rain, rain again becomes the anna. This is the cycle that happens. That's why we are now planting more and more trees. After a long time, we have got that the understanding that trees are very important for our sustenance. So we have now got that. So Manu, in one of his Dharma Shastras, he says, Agnau prastahutis samyak adityam upatisthate adityat jayate vrishtihi vrishterannam tataha prajaha. The offerings that are made into fire is deposited in the sun, and then the sun releases the rain, and the rain creates the food, and then beings are born out of food. This cycle is an ongoing cycle. So do not break this cycle. That's what Sri Krishna is emphasizing over here. So by making this kind of offering to the divine, we are sacrificing our ego. Well, grossly we are offering something, but we are also sacrificing our own selves. Whatever we have earned with our hard work, we are sacrificing out of that. And this exerts great influence in the maintenance of this cycle of creation, so to say. So ultimately we need to understand that this concept of yajna is based on self-sacrifice. Without sacrifice, there can be no sustenance. You have definitely to give in order to receive. You cannot think of being a receiver without giving out. So this sacrifice is a very, very important part in our life, and we should not neglect this self-sacrifice. And then he continues, there's not too much of philosophy in this. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagne pratishthitam. Karma brahma udbhavam. Works of sacrifice have their authority in the Veda. See, Veda has been revealed by whom? The Supreme Being. Therefore, the all-comprehending Veda is established in sacrifice, that is, has performance of sacrifice as its fundamental teachings. Karma Brahma Udbhavam. See, this yajna is born of karma. That means when you perform actions, keep on performing actions, it is a yajna. That means it is a sacrifice. And yajna, the sacrifice, is also an action. An action, how is it? So in yajna, the feelings, two things are there in yajna. One is the performer's feelings or the attitude with which you perform the work or the yajna. Here I will not use the term of work, but I will use the term yajna. The attitude or the feelings of the performer is one thing. And then secondly, the actual action that you perform. These two must go hand in hand. The attitude. Now, some people also say that yajna can be performed with mere feelings itself and not by performing any action. While it is true for enlightened beings to perform yajna without performing the action, for us all, for common people like all of us, it is very essential to note that along with the feelings, there also must be the action. Action also should be supported by our feelings. What I am doing must be supported by what I am feeling must be supported by my doing. This is a very important point to note here. Karma Brahma Udbhavam Vidhi. That means works of sacrifice have their authority in the Veda. Now, here Sri Krishna uses a technical term, Brahma. Brahma here means Veda. That means the scripture is meant over here. It is not Brahman or the Supreme is meant here. Brahma is born out of the teachings of the scriptures. Karma Brahma Udbhavam Vidhi. Brahma Akshara Samudbhavam. Brahma is Akshara Samudbhavam. What is Brahma? That is the Akshara Samudbhavam, the imperishable being. Akshara means that which does not perish, that which does not become less is known as Akshara. Aksharam. This Veda, that means this knowledge or the scripture has arisen from the imperishable Brahman. In Hindu mythology, we have this concept of the creator Brahma having 4 heads. Through the 4 mouths, he gives to us the 4 Vedas. That means the 4 types of knowledge that are necessary for us. Rig, Yaju, Sama and Atharva Veda. So, the scriptures that have come to us, that is to say the knowledge that has been received in our mythology or in our philosophy has come from Brahma himself. So it has come out from the very source, the divine source. So therefore, Sri Krishna is saying that try to maintain the sanctity of the Vedas. Try to maintain the sanctity of the scriptures that has been given to you. It was very much essential because if we look at historically, at Sri Krishna's time, the Vedas, for somehow, it began to assume less importance in life because of predominance of selfishness, predominance of greed. This Veda, the Vedic rituals and Vedic practices had become less and less important in the lives of people. So Sri Krishna had to uphold the importance of this Veda, and it is very much relevant even today, even though it can take a philosophical term, but yet it is essential for us to practice some kind of ritual in our life, because we cannot be without action. We need to perform some action. So those actions are mentioned in a very poetic manner or in a very cryptic manner in the Vedas. So we need to perform our actions in accordance to the injunctions of the Vedas. So, we need to look at the historical perspective of Sri Krishna over here also. It doesn't say that you perform all the yagas and yajnas that the Vedas ask you to do. It is impossible for us to do that in this present day life. But you understand the meaning behind these, the meaning that is represented by the Vedas. The meaning of the Vedas must be put into your lives. That is what he says. Karma Brahma Udbhavam Vidhi. Works of sacrifice have their authority in the Veda, and Veda has been revealed by the Supreme Being. Yasya Nishvasitam Vedaha, whose breath, the divine is represented, is described, whose breath is the Vedas. So that is, the Lord is himself inherent in the instructions that are given to us by the Vedas. That is the idea over here. So Sasmat, since the instructions about Yajna comes from the Lord himself, hold on to it like a rope to reach the divine. That is the idea. Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma. Veda or knowledge, that is all pervasive. That is, Sarvagatam means all pervasive. Since all knowledge is included in this, Tasmat Sarvagatam Brahma Nityam Yagne Pratishtitam. This is a very important point. That is, be established in this act of sacrifice, Nityam, daily, constantly. Do not neglect this yajna. That is the teaching that Sri Krishna gives, or that this is the order that Sri Krishna is giving to us. Nityam yagne pratishtitam. Swami Vivekananda used to say that sacrifice and service are the twin ideals that we have to follow in our life. And Swami Vivekananda very famously said, the national ideals of India are renunciation and service. Intensify her in those channels, and the rest will take care of itself. Now, the term renunciation, by the term renunciation, Swami Vivekananda does not talk about giving up everything, becoming a sannyasi. No. Renunciation here means sacrifice, the ideal of sacrifice. Instead of being selfish, have this ideal of sacrifice in your life. To sum this up, the concept of ritualistic action slowly evolves into the ideal of service, seva. Seva is a very important word in our lexicon. So seva, that means, why do I want to do seva to anyone or to anybody? Because I see the self-same Brahman, the self-same divine that is within me is there also. Swami Vivekananda once said to one of his brother disciples, my dear brother, the time has gone wherein the giver will stand on a high platform and will give or will donate or will sacrifice himself to a person who is standing lower. Now, the receiver must be on a higher level and the giver on a lower level. That is to say, give it with all humility, because we are all part and parcel of the self-same divine. Give it in that aspect. So nowadays we are all very familiar. Somebody will give a small tube light and then they will write their name on that. If you go to Vrindavan, you will see that. They will donate one small fluorescent light and then they will write their name boldly over there so everybody sees. No, that is not a sacrifice. That is not yajna. Yajna is where your left hand will not know what the right hand is giving. That is the concept of yajna. Anyway, Sri Krishna further talks about this. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayah aghayurindriya ramo mogham partha sajivati. Evam pravartitam chakram na anuvartayati. See, Sri Krishna is very emphatic about this. He says, vain is the life of that sinful and sense-indulgent person who fails to fulfill his obligations in this cycle of mutual interdependence and service, which the law of sacrifice implies. Evam pravartitam chakram, this wheel of yajna has interconnectedness of the entire creation, so to say. So if we do not recognize this and try to only live for ourselves, what is it? He says, aghayuhu. That means such people are sinners. Agha means sinners. Aghayu also means one who is interested only in his or her senses, only the sense pleasures. That's why Gandhiji very famously said, there is enough in this world to meet human needs, but there is not enough to meet human wants. Why wants? Because the cravings of the senses. The cravings of senses is so strong that we do not want to share, because we want for ourselves. So Sri Krishna says, Mogham Partha Sajivati. Such a person lives a meaningless life. Mogha means meaningless, empty, vain life. Empty and vain life. So let us not be such persons. Let us live a life wherein we contribute to this cycle of yajna. We give and then receive. We give and then receive. That is the idea. We will move on to the 17th verse. Yes, tvatmaratire vasyat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtastasya karyam na vidyate. Yahatu atmaratire vasyat. But whoever delights in the self, that is the spirit alone, and is content and satisfied in the self, for such a person there is no obligatory duty to discharge. Question is raised here. Is it essential for all of us to work? Because in the beginning of this chapter, Sri Krishna said, Lokesmin vividha nishta pura prokta. Means in the beginning of the creation, two streams of thoughts were spread. One is the stream of karma, of action, the path of action, and the other is the stream of jnana, the path of knowledge. So Sri Krishna says here, yes, two here means but, to differentiate between this karma yoga and jnana yoga. So now here he speaks about the duty of a Jnana Yogi, a person who is engaged in the thought of the divine or the thought of the Supreme Self. But we need to know the qualifications of such a Jnani. Everyone and anyone cannot become a Jnani. You may claim that you follow the path of Advaita and say that, no, I follow the path of Advaita, so I do not have to do any action at all. I can just sit. That is what had happened to India for many centuries. People misunderstood the ideal of renunciation, and then they spent their time in vain pursuits and so on and so forth, laziness, and therefore there was a decline. When invaders came and invaded the country, we became powerless, so to say, because we had not understood Sri Krishna's teachings properly. So Jnana Yoga is good, but for whom is this Jnana Yoga taught? He says here, Atmani Atmaratireva Syat. 3 characteristics of a Jnani has been given. What is it? Atmarati, Atmatripta, and Atmasantushta. Atmarati, whoever delights in the self alone. Rati means interest. Rati also means love. The Jnani has this Ramana in the Atman. That means he moves about, his interest, his love is in the Atman. That means in the Supreme Self. He moves about there, he enjoys, he loves, and he is established in that. So external joys, external happiness is not necessary for him. It doesn't mean that he does not enjoy the external world. He enjoys it, but he doesn't see the essence over there. It is like a person going to the movie. For him, this whole world is like a movie. He sees everything, enjoys, but he is not involved in it. He is not emotionally or intellectually involved in that. It is all right. So when he is there with himself, he is Atmarati. He enjoys his company. This is a great message that Sri Krishna gives to us through this verse. Atmarati. Try to enjoy your presence. We have spoken about this before also, but I will try to re-emphasize this need for us to love ourselves. That means our higher self. Can we live without the television? Can we live without the devices? Can we live without all the so-called external comforts? We can, because the real joy rests within ourselves. The real happiness is within ourselves. People may have tons of wealth, tons of comforts and all that, but they need not be necessarily very happy about it. So this happiness comes in Atmarati. That means enjoyment or joy, delight in the self. Atmarati. See, Shankaracharya beautifully puts it here. Atmarati na vishayeshu ratihi. He doesn't have much interest in the external world, vishayeshu, in the objects of enjoyment. Then atmatriptaha, mightily satisfied with himself. Atmana eva tripto na anna rasadina, says Shankaracharya. Having good food, having good clothing, etc., does not make him satisfied. Yes, he is satisfied by very little. Again, His satisfaction rests in himself. Atma triptaha. No wants, completely devoid of any wants, because he is triptaha. He is totally satisfied, completely satisfied. Atma triptaha. Then Atma santushtaha. So Atma santushtaha. That is the idea. It means content. Santushta means content in whatever he has. Atmani eva santushtaha. Nothing else makes him happy than being with himself, with being one with his divine nature. That is the idea that Sri Krishna is trying to impress upon us here. So only such persons are fit for becoming a jnani. Here, Tilak, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, who also has commented upon the Bhagavad Gita with his commentary called the Karma Rahasya, there he says, yes, the jnani does not need any external devices to make him happy, and therefore he need not do any action, but for the welfare of others he needs to perform action, and it happens by itself. He need not specially perform any action. That means there is no special effort to perform the actions. He is happy within himself. That is the idea. Atmarati atmanyevacha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. For such people, there is no karya. That means there is no bounden duty. But they will keep on discharging their actions for the welfare of the others. Swami Vivekananda once said, a person may be sitting somewhere in a cave, remote cave of the Himalayas, but he will be sending constant thoughts of welfare of people, for people. He can sit there, but he might be tremendously engaged in sending the powerful thoughts that will definitely affect the people. So they are not sitting idle over there, but they will be sending their thoughts, and by this they will be helping people. The power of thought is extraordinary. Now, if you can think positive thoughts about others, if we can think constructive thoughts, and then thoughts of love and compassion about others, it will definitely go and affect those people. So let us be aware of our thoughts. Anyway, we will go further. 18th verse. Naiva tasya krite natho na krite neha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschidartavya pashrayah. Tasya kritena arthaha na asti. He has no object to gain here in this world by performing action, nor does he lose anything by abstaining from action. Whether he performs action or does not perform action doesn't matter for a jnani. For him, there is no dependence on any created being for any object of his. There's no dependence at all, because he has been paripakva. That means he has been totally satiated, totally satisfied. That is the idea. Sri Ramakrishna used to give an example, which Swami Ranganathan has quoted in this book. He says that when you try to fry puri or something, you pour the ghee or you pour the oil into the frying pan, and it starts sizzling, and then you pour some dough or you throw some dough into it, then it starts sizzling. But when the dough starts, when the dough is cooked well, it does not sizzle anymore. In the same manner, a jnani is one who is paripakva. He is already well cooked, so to say, well boiled in this knowledge of the self. So he doesn't have any action to perform. See the life of Ramana Maharshi, or see the life of Sri Ramakrishna and other great saints. They did not have to do any work, yet they continuously engaged themselves in the welfare, thinking of the welfare of others. It was not necessary for them to do it, yet they did it because out of the overpouring of the compassion of their hearts, and they will not stop sitting, or they will not keep quiet. They will keep on performing the actions even though it is not necessary for them. Therefore, Sri Krishna says in the next verse, Tasmad asaktas satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Therefore, perform action always without attachment. For by working without attachment, a person attains to the Supreme. See, because two things are there. One is a jnani performs the actions out of love for everyone, whereas we all perform actions because we need to perform the action, but when we do it without any motive behind it, any selfish motive, let me say that it is a selfish, where there is no selfish motive, and you are giving back to the universe what you have received, that becomes a yajna. Therefore, he says, by working without attachment, that means unselfishly, a person attains to the Supreme. Two views are there about this philosophy. One philosophy says, one view of the philosophy says that jnana, that means achieving knowledge alone, is the goal of our life. Therefore, there is no need for us to perform any action at all. The other view says, no, having been born as a human being or any other being, we must engage ourselves in some action or the other for the welfare of the world. Advaita Vedanta, it says that yes, both of these are correct, but there is a higher thought about it. That is, when you go higher, or if you want to reach higher levels of knowledge, higher levels of experiences, spiritual experiences, you will have to slowly give up this desire about the little self which has the ego, which has the mind, and which has even the intellect. All of this needs to be slowly and slowly given up. That is the ahuti. That also is an action. So spiritual practices are also actions, so to say. So constantly we are performing this action, being mindful about ourselves. When I say I become aware that this I, that is, doesn't belong to me. It belongs to nature. That is, the small I belongs to nature, and then it has to go and merge into it. And I am the Supreme Self. So these are some of the thoughts about this yajna and the attachment. I do not perform any action with attachment because it keeps on binding me. It comes and keeps on binding me. Karmanaiva hi samsiddhim asthita janakadayah loka sangrahami vapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. Men like Janaka verily attain to perfection by work alone. You ought to work for the good of the world, having their example in view. Sri Krishna is quoting Janaka. Janaka, Videha Janaka. Whether this is the same Janaka as Sita's father or not, there is some controversies about it, but we did not go into it. But Janaka was a king who was a jnani, who had achieved to that higher state by performing action itself. So they had conquered all the attachments, and the knowledge of the self had dawned upon them. So he says here, karmana yevahi astita janakadayaha astita. Men like Janaka verily attained to perfection by work alone. And therefore, he is giving an example to Arjuna over here, who says that I will not fight anymore because knowledge is greater than action. Therefore, I will not fight anymore. So Sri Krishna is saying, look, Janaka and others who had knowledge, they themselves kept on working. Loka sangrahamevapi, at least for the welfare of the world, for the good of the world. Bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya. Bhagavan Buddha taught us this. Bahujana sukhaya, for the welfare of many, for the happiness of many, and bahujana hitaya, for the welfare of many. So happiness and also welfare, both of these are combined in this philosophy of action, bahujana sukhaya. And then he says, why did they perform the actions? Yad yad acharati sreshtas tat tadevetaro janah sayat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. Whatever the noblest persons do, the ordinary person imitates. The standard they set, the ordinary people follow. So, even for the sake of setting an example, one should perform the action. They set up a wonderful standard, the gold standard is set up over there, and then you try to reach to that standard or make that as the benchmark, and you try to reach that. That is very important. And then Sri Krishna elsewhere says, Parasparam bhavayanta shreya param avapsyata. That means when you keep on performing this kind of actions, parasparam, each other is benefited, bhavayanta. Through that, you will be reaching to the highest state. That is the idea. Yad yad acharati sreshta. That is why this acharana is very important. Acharana is leading by example. Some of you are all great managers. You all know this very well, that if you do not lead by examples, others will not obey you. They will not pay any heed to whatever you say or whatever you do. One holding a very high position, it means whether it be intellectual positions or political powers, etc., one must have that ideal before himself and then must follow an ideal. Yat pramanam kurte, whatever standard such person lays, others will follow. I will conclude with an incident from the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Those of you that have read the life of Sri Ramakrishna will know it. Sri Ramakrishna's father, Kshudiram, was a very truthful personality, extraordinarily truthful personality. So he lived in a village called Dere, and he led a very comfortable life. The landlord of that place, Zamindar, also respected him a lot, The whole village respected him for his truthfulness and his uprightness and his kindness towards all beings. One day, this landlord of that place, he got into some legal battle, and in order to give evidence in favor of him, he asked many people, and they all said, well, the judge will not accept any evidence. They will not care much for our evidences, but go to Kshudiram because he is known in the whole area as a truthful person. So go and ask him. So if he agrees and if he gives an evidence in your favor, know for certain that your case is won. So the zamindar, zamindar means a landlord, he goes to Kshudiram. Kshudiram was a very poor person, but very honest person. He had some land, and then he was looking after his family very well. And so he goes to Kshudiram and says, Kshudiram, I need help from you. You must come to the court and then you must give evidence saying that I am innocent in this case. Kshudiram thought for a while and said to him, Sir, I am sorry, I cannot do this because I know very well that you have committed a grave error. You have committed a mistake over there. You have wronged the other person. So how can I go and against my principles? How can I do that? I will not do. So naturally, the case was lost by the landlord, and the landlord, by very devious means, he made sure that Kshudiram lost his everything, his land and property and everything. So Kshudiram was without a roof on his head, and he had about an acre of land. That's all that he had. Anyway, so at that moment he said, whatever is the will of the Lord, I will accept it. Just at that time, another rich person from the neighborhood village, the Lahas, he said, Kshudiram, I know how good you are. Come, I will give you a small plot of land. You stay there, you grow your own food, and you look after your family. And that's how he came to the place called Kamarpukur, where Sri Ramakrishna was later born. So he led such a great example that Sri Ramakrishna says that if my father did not hold on to such high ideals, do you think a person like me would have been born at his household? No, he would have never been born to such a household. So that is the price he had to pay, was being sent away from his property and his village. But again, the Lord showed him the way, and then a great soul was born. Sri Ramakrishna was born in his household. So yad achariti shrestha, whatever the people in higher places, whatever they follow or whatever actions they perform, the others follow by example, and you should set a positive example in the lives of your children, your family, your community, your whole nation, so to say. So that is the great message that we get from Sri Krishna over here. Acharana, our behavior must be such that it becomes exemplary. Thank you very much. Om Shanti.